I didn't say anything about fearing death. I said, you're going to die, so live now. It is about the Viktor Frankl perspective. It is about transcendence. But at the end of the day, you have to realize it's finite. So write down answers to these. Think about it. Envision it. Envision your funeral, right? Envision like, hey, my time's up. Now, find visual representations, pictures that are accurately representing the stuff that you've written down. Print them out, cut them up, paste them on a board. And then the final step is you have to take that board and you have to put it somewhere extremely obvious, somewhere you cannot avoid. You have to look at that thing every single day. You have to kind of allow yourself to be taken by it. And then after that, what you do is every single day, you just have to write down 3 things each day that you are going to get done that are going to bring you closer to that vision.
Welcome to the Super Clinic Project Podcast, where we take regular clinic owners and turn them into cash-based multimillionaire entrepreneurs. Warning, if you're a doctor who listens to this podcast regularly, you will make millions of dollars. Do not listen to this podcast unless you want to be a successful clinic owner who helps thousands of patients achieve their health goals and adds more money than you can imagine to your bank account. You've been warned.
Welcome to episode 4 of the Super Clinic Project podcast, where we give you the exact tactics, strategies, and mindsets you need to fulfill your destiny by helping thousands of people in your community and dominating your market and your life. I'm one of your hosts, Rory Morgan, along with Jennifer and Tracey. And by the end of today's episode, you're going to understand one of the key differences between why some people succeed and others don't succeed despite seemingly doing the exact same things. Now, I'm going to warn you that today's episode is going to make some people uncomfortable. The ideas we're going to present here are going to be things that some people just want to be like, no, that's BS. I don't want to deal with that. Or, that idea makes me uncomfortable to think about. Or, maybe it's going to be, well, I have an image of the types of people who act like that, and I don't like those types of people. But the reality is that there is data behind this. And so let me go ahead and introduce this topic, because there was a survey done a few years back. This was a 5-year survey, and 500 small business owners were surveyed. Okay. And this survey specifically related to vision boards. So of these 500 small business owners that were surveyed, some of them obviously did not do vision boards, and some of them did. Okay, it was 1 in 5 small business owners used a vision board or some other representation like that when they started their business. Okay, now to get into the statistics of the results of the survey, of those 1 in 5 who did the vision board, 76% of those who did the vision board had reported in 5 years that their business is today where they had envisioned it when they started it. Okay. 82% of small business owners who used the vision board from the start reported that they had accomplished more than half of their goals thus far. Okay. And why is this important? Because it's essentially the exact opposite of what we usually see. Right? The stats vary, but typically somewhere in between 50 and 60% of businesses are out of business in 5 years. And some of the stats say it's as high as 80 or 90% are failed out of business within 10 years.
Yeah.
Right? So purpose of this episode is not going to be to, convince you to create a vision board. The purpose of this episode is really to help you understand why it is that entrepreneurs with vision boards, or at least with a very compelling vision, why do they do better than folks that don't do that?
I want to just interject and say that's Rory's purpose, is not to convince you. My purpose will be to convince you. This is Jennifer. I think that you should be convinced to do this because the evidence is so overwhelming and you will surprise yourself.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, I do agree, right? But at the end of the day, I'm kind of out of the business anymore of convincing people. If you don't want to do it, then don't do it. If the evidence doesn't convince you to make a change in your actions, then so be it.
Not me, I'm still optimist.
Yeah.
With a hammer.
So if you think about it, I think the way most people tend to think about things is very logically, right? And you think, well, isn't a business, isn't it more about, you know, having a great product, having a great sales process, running ads, things like that, right? Isn't that what builds a business? And if like someone with a vision board has a good product, has a good sales process, runs ads, does a good job, why would their results be any different than somebody else who doesn't have a vision board and runs ads and has a good sales process? They've got the same script. They've got all the pieces are exactly the same.
Rory, I'd actually just like to jump in for a sec and say, when we speak about vision boards, that is a very practical application, but the bigger picture is also the vision. So in any business plan, what you'll see, that business plan is always going to start with vision, mission, and values. Right. I mean, and there's a reason why that is part of the business plan, because the vision is supposed to energize and inspire you. Right. That's supposed to keep you going when things get tough. And things are going to get tough, and they do get tough.
Yeah.
So.
It's like a marriage. It's like, most businesses, it's like any relationship that someone has, there has to be some basis of happiness and passion and for, what you're doing. And the people who end up doing vision boards tend to be happier people, because what they're doing is they're realizing they're architects of their own life. And they are less likely to really cling on to that limiting belief that external forces are keeping them down, or being able to derailed by saying, well, there's nothing else I could have done. This just happened, or I don't know why my life is this way, or why are all these bad things happening to me? The people who do vision boards are less likely to state or even think those very limiting and untrue beliefs. They become empowered. And while it's very terrifying to be empowered in this mindset, it's also very liberating, because not only are you why you have the reality that you have, which is like, oh, wow, this is why I'm here. It can also be just as easily, this is why I'm here, and I can actually get what I want. I could actually change things. When you realize that, and the people who realize that, then keys and doors open to them. And that has been historically true. Every major thinker, conqueror, from all throughout history has talked about the power of thought, which ties back to vision boards. Every single one. And there's a reason, from Plato and Aristotle and Julius Caesar to all of our founding fathers, have these really amazing quotes about the power of thought and how it can shape your destiny.
Yeah. And really what it gets down to is basically most people don't lead their life, they accept it. Right. And what that's getting at is what has been scientifically quantified in psychological study after psychological study, is the idea of internal locus of control versus external locus of control. So study after study has shown that people who believe that inside of them they have control to make a difference in their life, that I can make choices that will make my life better, those people are happier. People who believe that, hey, I have control over my situation, I can change, I can make a difference, they are more successful, right? They have better marriages. They are better parents. Like in every single facet of life, people who have a vision for who they want to be, where they want to be, the type of person they want to act like, right? And it's real to them, and they actually believe like, hey, I can achieve this. I have the ability to make a difference in my life. Those people achieve more, they're happier, they have better relationships. And again, we probably should have looked up some of the stats on some of these studies, but it's absolutely undeniable. And that's really where this vision board concept gets, is that when you have that internal locus of control, that vision board is kind of just proof of it. It's just like, hey, I know where I'm going. I actually believe that I have enough power and influence over my own life to get to those things that are on my vision board. I actually believe in myself. I don't think life is just happening to me. I think I can actually reach out and poke at the box around me, and I can change it and rearrange it and make my situation different. And when you believe that, you actually do act differently. You actually make different choices. You show up differently. You have a different energy, and everything that you do is more effective.
And you also handle failure a lot better, because, when things go bad, the people who have that internal locus of control will say, well, what did I do to create this, and how can I change it? Even when it might be something exceedingly external, they're still like, wow, okay, this sucks. This governmental entity shut down the world, right? Because of some virus, right? But then instead of just going, woe is me, what can I do? And they flail around in this very helpless victim-like state. They change and we saw this during the lockdowns of COVID. There were some people who just went, okay, well, how are we going to change this? Well, let's start making masks. Let's start doing this. Let's do something. And they got through it, and they were able to come out the other side. And then we saw people that absolutely tanked in a lot of different ways. And so if they could have stayed true to their purpose, or if they had something like a vision board, it could have helped them through those dark times, which were dark times for a lot of people.
Yeah. Tracey,
I think the vision board itself, I'm reminded of the concept. The journey is not, the destination is not the journey, right? So having this vision for yourself, it's not to say because you have it, you're going to achieve and check off every single thing that's on there. It's more about saying, this is what's important to me. This is what I'm aimed at. This is what I want to move toward, so that if you're faced with, let me stay scrolling on Facebook for another 15 minutes, or, let me get onto the phone and start making some calls because I need to connect. Yeah. It needs to be practically applied. And I think this is where it gets a bad rap as a soft skill, but it's by no means a soft skill if the action supports the vision. I mean, if you're just going to want it without doing anything about it, that's kind of an exercise in futility.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%, right? You've got to take ownership for it. You've got to make a commitment to it, right? Like, you're not just throwing things on the vision board because, oh yeah, I'm supposed to do this vision board. So, what do other people want? Oh, I guess white sandy beaches and a mansion in Beverly Hills or whatever, right? You just make up some stuff because those are other people's desires, and you don't know what to want. Like, you've got to say, like, this is what I want. This is what I want things to look like. And we'll talk about how to really be specific about that later.
Yeah, well, I think most people will put what they, the house that they really want, and not just go crazy. But once you do it, I think the fear is you're making a commitment, and it's the fear of commitment. You're actually committing to yourself that I want this craftsman style home in this one area of town that when I was growing up, I always thought I really want to live there in that school district. And if I put it up and someone sees it and I don't get it, then what? Well, you have to make that commitment to yourself, and you've got to put that vision of whatever it is. It can be anything, right? It can be more time with your child. It can be, well, I want to save up enough money to where I can stay home for 3 years. So I'm going to cut out this picture of a mother nursing her child because I want to be able to not have to work to be able to do that. And now I'm working in the clinic, and there's no way I'll just be pumping all the time, right? So I'm going to do this because I know that I'm going to need a clinician to come in, and I'm going to be able to manage them so I can do this. And you have to commit. It's the commitment part that I think that gets them up a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, right? Because it's scary. Like, it's comforting to have that external locus of control and kind of say, like, somebody else is going to take care of me. The economy is going to rearrange itself around my life. And as long as the right person gets elected, and as long as, my wife or my husband treats me exactly the way I want them to. And as long as, the marketing agency that I hire does a perfect job, and as long as my employees never mess up, it's like, it's all like, as long as everything else around me arranges itself, then everything's going to work out fine. It's very comforting to live in that place. Of course, it's not comforting when you're laying in bed at night alone with your thoughts and you kind of have to deal with the reality of the situation. But when you all of a sudden throw it up, make a commitment and say, I'm getting this, you remove all those excuses. Oh, my employee didn't show up. You can't say, oh, it was her fault or his fault. You can't say it was my wife's fault, my husband's fault. You can't say it's Donald Trump's fault or Joe Biden's fault. You actually have to take ownership. And a lot of people don't want to do that.
Well, they get afraid.
I think,
go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's more than not wanting to. I think there's a big component of not really being brought up to think about those things. Like when you're young, you're asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? But I mean, once you grow up, people stop asking you that question, right? So you get into that hamster wheel of every day is just the same. Every month is just the same. And I need to make the most of my time right now. I mean, we see this a lot with clinic owners when we're getting them to think through their strategy, and we position them and we say, well, what is your vision, right? What is your bigger picture? And what we hear very often here is it sounds something like, we want to get people out of pain so they can live their best life, right? And that's something that they're doing already. Now, I'm not saying that that's not a right vision, but I'm saying that's not inspiring to the future. That's not a game changer. That's not motivating. It's not thinking big. It's not actually positioning you to become a better version of yourself to be able to achieve it.
Yeah.
And also, too, we get a lot of people that when we ask them, so one of the things with the vision board is you have to be very specific, because if you're specific, then you can reach it. So one of the specific things that we talk about is what was your revenue last month? And then what was your profit? And there's a deer in the headlights look with many of our owners. The same type of people who don't actually want to look at their bank account. They don't want to really see it. They don't want to see the audit. They will avoid looking at their credit card. Like, I know there's money in there, but I really don't know how much. And that is fear. That is not being actively involved in moving the dial and moving this and asking those questions. How much is in there? So how much do we actually need to get in order for me to hit to that goal? Being specific is very important when doing a vision board. I used to do a speaking gig where I would go up and I would get someone from the crowd and I would say, I spy something green. And they would have to try to pick it. And I would get more and more and more specific. I would find something that would be very tough on I spy something green, in a room that's green carpet and green everywhere. And by the time I was done, they would say, the earrings that lady in the back has on in the purple jacket. And I'd say, see, when you know exactly, because I'd get very specific. And then I'd say, see, when you know exactly what you're looking for, you can find anything, even in a sea of green.
Yep.
And it's like that for the vision board.
100%. Which, so to tie in the two things that you just said, right? What I'm hearing is basically, number one, your vision has to be something you don't yet have. And it has to be specific because, like Tracey, you said, like, well, my goal is to help. I just want to help people. It's not about me. I just want to help people. Right. And it's like, well, how many people over what period of time? Well, I don't know. I'm not that ambitious. Right. And it's like, they're trying to avoid this. Right. But where you end up is the only level of specificity you have is something green. Right? Like, it's like, okay, well, did you help someone yesterday? Yes, I did. Okay, well, then you have literally already achieved your vision because that's the level of specificity that you have. You're just in a room of green things. And so any green thing that you find is good enough. Right? So I think that's like, it has to be something that you don't have. It inspires you. It's going to be difficult. You're going to feel an extreme amount of fulfillment after putting in all that hard work to get it. And that's the key there. Specific and something you don't have. So just to kind of like make sure we stay on track here, couple points of like, okay, what happens when you have a vision board? Why is it different when you're running your business when you have a compelling vision? So, people who do or don't have a vision board, both of them are going to make ads, right? They're going to make some videos for their business. But when the person with the compelling vision makes their videos, right? They make videos for ads. There's more passion behind it. There's more belief behind it, right? That comes across in your videos, right? When a patient doesn't show up for their appointment, right? And you have 10 free minutes, right? The person without the vision board, they kind of pout about it. Like, oh, okay, they sit down, they look at their phone, they look at Instagram, they do whatever they do, right? Maybe they just sit around and talk with their employees about, the local football team or whatever. But the person with the vision board, what do? They sit down and they pick up the phone and they make phone calls. They call old leads, right? They call patients that are inactive. They just check in on people. Hey, how's it going? What's up, right? Maybe they call a partner they have in the community who's a referral partner, right? And they kind of check in on them and manage that relationship. But they get stuff done when they have free times, right? The person without the vision board, when they have meetings, it's just like, well, we've got to run this meeting, right? Maybe they don't even run meetings. Maybe they just assume that everyone is on the same page.
Yeah,
but the
that's more
person,
like it.
yeah, and the person with the vision, right? It's with purpose. They're having meetings and they're sharing the vision and they're telling people, here's where we're going to go. Here's what we're going to do. Right? They're getting people excited about it, right? So they can have a team that's on the same mission. When they sell with purpose, right? The person without the vision, they're just following the script, right?
Yeah.
Ultimately, their energy and their passion for their vision, it infects everyone around them, and other people catch it, and it's contagious.
I'm just going to go in and say we have very strong vision here at where we, Rory, Tracey, and I, we work together and we have a big team, and we will talk about core values. And those core values relate to the main vision. And literally, we meet every morning, we talk about it. But every single person will come in now. Once even a new person comes in, they will get a chance to, talk about the core value and usually say a quote or something. But what's more amazing is how infectious it becomes. When people do that, they relate it back to their own life. They think about things and then they're more purposeful and they get more excited about it. You'll see a lot more longevity with your staff. You're going to find that staff are more willing to open up about what they want and how they can plug in. They become more innovative. They'll come to you with solutions to challenges in the business rather than being the just passive people that are looking at the clock until they go home. When you are a strong visionary, you lift up and are the spark for everyone around you.
This applies so beautifully. I think Rory mentioned it before about networking. So a lot of our clients, they want to build the relationships within the community for strong referrals. And what I often find is that they end up speaking about themselves, right? So they introduce themselves and they talk all about their experience in their clinic and their qualifications, and they make it all about them. And what we like to do with those individuals is to stretch them and to say, well, it's not really about you. Right? What is the difference that you want to make? And you want to enroll this person into your movement. So instead of, giving the whole pitch on every single thing that you've done for the past 20 years, you would say something like, we want to improve our community and let them live, play, and work harder for longer, into their ripe old age. And as soon as you position what it is that you want to do, the other person understands, how can I buy into that? What could I do about that? Rather than, why the hell is this person telling me all this information? Because I'm really not interested.
Yeah. My degrees and my credentials and my equipment and
my specialized technique.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to talk to people and the what's in it for them to talk to you.
Yep.
And get creative with that.
Yeah. Okay, well let's get specific, and you're gonna want, if you're listening or watching, you're gonna want to pull out a piece of paper, maybe a couple pieces of paper, or pull up, Google Documents or something. And here's a few questions. So you really do want to write this out, okay? And we'll keep it simple here. You can get more in depth in, maybe in our mastermind and in our free programs that we offer. But number one question is, what is important to me? Right? And I want you to be selfish when you answer this. So just like let's give you a couple examples of what we mean when we say selfish, right? Because I think people have a tendency to sort of, when I say what's important to you, they have a tendency to think, well, what am I supposed to think is important? Like what does society think is acceptable? And really, when you think about the quality of your life, it's going to have a lot more to do with how you spend your moments with your family, with your wife, with your husband, with what you actually do with your time, right? And so, what might be important to you if you're a man is, well, that my wife respects me and she believes in me and she's thankful for the life I provide. That's way deeper than, oh my gosh, what's important to me is to help people, right? Now, it's okay if helping people is something that's important to you as well, right? But do you want to help people in a way where, number one, you have tons of respect for yourself because you've gone out there and crushed it in business. You've gone out there and just dominated and just made a difference in people's lives, and your wife can see that and she's thankful and respectful for what you've done? Or do you want to help people in a way where, oh yeah, well, like at least I'm helping people, right? And you don't really respect yourself, and you don't really progress, and you don't get that respect at home, right? And that's just one example.
Yeah, Rory, you're talking about making sure you're clear on your values, because it needs to connect with your values, because you are going to make decisions. Your behavior is going to reflect what is important. So if you can really connect with that, that sets you up for success.
Yep.
Yeah. What person do you really want to be at the, when all is said and done, who really are you and who do you want to be? Because you can be that anytime you decide to. You just have to commit to that.
100%. Yep. So another question, what specific things excite my soul? Like what do I get fired up about? Right? Another word we could use for this is what's my calling? Like what do I feel pulled towards and drawn to? Right? What do I want the world around me to look like? And guys, I've got to say this. Don't take some stock generic answer, right? Don't just take the, world peace and, the hungry are fed and blah, 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 right? Like when I say the world around me, I mean the community that you actually have an impact on, the people that you're actually interacting with, right? Most of us listening to this, unless Elon's listening to this, I don't know, maybe he is, but most of us probably aren't gonna have any impact on, world leaders in India or Africa or something, right? We're going to have an impact on our little bit of the world around us. What do we want that to look like? What skills do I have that can make the world look more like that? Right? How can I actually do things to achieve that? All right. So I want you to go ahead and write those down. Pause the video, pause the podcast, write it down, because this stuff is really, really important, right? You've got to get clear on this. Next set of questions. So how exactly do I want to be spending my time each day 10 years from now? Actually take the time to think through, like, a day in my life 10 years from now. I'm going to be 40. I'm going to be 50. I'm going to be 60, right? I'm going to be 72. How do I want to spend my time? Do I want to be on the golf course? Do I want to be working my ass off 60 hours a week? either one of those is fine, but you just have to decide, like, what do you want, right? Do I want to be, relaxing with my wife on a beach? What is it that you would make your soul come alive? Who exactly do I want to be spending my time with? What are the people I want around me, right? What are we going to be doing together? Who do I want to be at my funeral when I die?
Not my favorites.
Right. Well, Tracey, I'll let you explain why that's not your favorite, but let me tell you why it is my favorite, because it's the fact that we are going to die that gives our life value. Why would we ever do anything productive if
because we're going to live first?
Well, that's right. But right. But I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, if there was no end to this ever, I would, like, what incentive would there be for me to build something for my kids? What incentive would there be for me to do anything other than just be drunk, high, get as many women as I could, just live totally hedonistically, only for the pleasure? Like, why would I do anything but that if there was no eventual consequence at any point?
That's an interesting question. We can probe it, because I think there are some people who feel that way, and other people would be like, no, because I just am who I am, and
That's who I am.
Want to do that for my kids, and I just want to live in that good way, like in a way that I feel and value as good. But that's a whole other. That's a whole
sure,
other
maybe,
podcast.
but I don't think we would.
It kind
have
of feels
value.
like a stick. Like, you better get the most out because you're gonna die. I don't like that.
But I get it. Like, I grew up Catholic and converted to Orthodox, Christian, which it's very much about what's going to happen, and that's what keeps you in line. So I do get it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do have evidence on my side, because death is undefeated and everybody does die. Right. And most people have regrets at the end of their life. And I'm not sitting here telling you what your values should be when you're alive, but at the end of the day, you get to choose what your values are going to be, and you get to choose what you're going to do with your time, and you get to choose how many regrets you're going to have. So, Tracey, what's another way to think about that? If you don't want to think about what do you want people to say about you at your funeral when you're dead? Who do you want to be there? What's another way to think about that?
I think if I think along the lines of more a Viktor Frankl approach, it's more about transcendence, and it's about achieving transcendence. So what am I prepared to fight for that is going to benefit myself, my community, globally? It's not about the fear of death, or the fact that you're going to end, isn't the driver. It's about almost like rising up above the own conditions that you find yourself in, so that you can really connect with purpose. And purpose I don't feel is connected to death. For me, purpose is very powerfully aligned with living, with steady progress, right? Purpose, if you're achieving it, like you said, it means it's not big enough. So it's about the doing rather than at the end when you're not doing. But I do understand the perspective that from a regrets perspective, because if you don't take action, there are going to be regrets.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I think that perfectly actually dovetails with what I was saying, because I didn't say anything about fearing death. I said, you're going to die, so live now, right? I mean, I totally agree. It is about the Viktor Frankl perspective. It is about transcendence, right? But at the end of the day, you have to realize it's finite. Right? You're not going to be 197 and still have, 17,000 more years to go, right? Like it ends. And so you have to realize, like, it has to be done now. You've got to do it when you can do it.
Unless Elon Musk does develop transferring your consciousness to a digital chip and imprinting that in a digital space. I mean, you never know. But for now.
Yeah. I'm sure we're all looking forward to the singularity.
Yeah.
Yeah. So write down answers to these. Think about it. Envision it. Envision your funeral, right? Envision, like, hey, my time's up? Are people around my funeral saying, "Man, this guy did it. He lived the right way. He did it. He had an impact on me, or she had an impact on me," or is it just kind of like, well, family shows up and says goodbye? Okay, now go to the internet, grab your magazines, whatever, maybe photographs that you already have at the house. Find visual representations, pictures that are accurately representing the stuff that you've written down.
Or
Print 'em
use
out.
AI. You can use AI now to create whatever you want. So that would be fun in and of itself. Just sit there and use that Bing AI that they have, and it creates these amazing things. Yeah, you can do that too.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a good call. If you're not skilled with AI, it can give you some pretty weird stuff sometimes, but try it. It's fun. It's a skill you need to learn anyway.
Yeah.
All right. So print them out, cut them up, paste them on a board. And then the final step is you have to take that board and you have to put it somewhere extremely obvious, somewhere you cannot avoid. You have to look at that thing every single day, and it almost needs to be like a shrine, right? Like you spend 5 minutes almost, and some people might take this the wrong way, but I'm not using it in that weird of a way, but you almost have to like worship before it, right? You have to kind of allow yourself to be taken by it for 5 minutes every day, to picture it, to embody it, to be a part of it, and get your soul, your energy, if you will, aligned with where you are going. And then after that, what you do is every single day, you just have to write down, this is all you have to do, is you have to write down 3 things each day that you are going to get done that are going to bring you closer to that vision. 3, if you just get 3 things done, right? They could be very small things. It could be just like call so-and-so and confirm XYZ, right? But you don't go to bed until you get those 3 things done.
Yeah, it could be just making a healthier choice for lunch. Instead of the potatoes, I'll have a salad today because I put someone who is like this really fit dude or woman on there. The thing is commit to wanting it for yourself, commit to loving yourself enough to say it's okay to want what I really want. So allow yourself to be loved in that way, and to put that out in the universe and to God that this is what you hold for yourself. And, depending if you're religious or not, to say, God, I just want to be on the path you want for me. But these are things that are burning inside of me, and if you believe God put them in there, help me. I'm going to commit to doing what it takes, or whether it's the universe. And when you can commit to yourself and love yourself, it's amazing what wonders will start to happen in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you get 3 things done every day, that's 3 more things than most people, right? And over the course of a year, you've done 1,000 things to move you closer to your vision. Yep. Well over 1,000, right? And so that's all you have to do is just take action on it, and how do you eat an elephant? 1 bite at a time.
And feel free to share them, across social media. Share them with us. Love to hear it.
Yeah, absolutely. Share them with us. Reach out. Tell us what you're accomplishing.
Yep.
Okay, let's wrap this episode up. Thanks for listening, guys. I want you to go ahead and visit our website. Make sure that you are subscribed. And if you want more help on this stuff, we have that 14-day free trial where you can get access to our mastermind that's hosted on School. Myself and Dr. Zeno are in there helping you with growing your clinic. And you can try that for free for 14 days. Jennifer, can you give them the website?
Yes, it is superclinicproject.com. And then if you're watching this, you'll be able to see all of our social links. But if you go to superclinicproject.com, just go down to the bottom. We have all of our links, the link to School, links to get you anywhere you need to go.
All right. See you guys.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Super Clinic Project podcast. If you like what you hear, subscribe and stay tuned for further episodes of the Super Clinic Project podcast.